flower, we finished fruit. Now the next topic in the chapter, morphology of flowering plant, is the seed, right? So it's our topic 5.7, which is the seed. Now if we have to discuss about the seed, now seed is the end product of sexual reproduction. What is seed? Seed is the end product of which reproduction? Sexual reproduction. I am telling that seed is the end product of sexual reproduction. Now from where is the seed from? The ripened ovules, the fertilized ovules develop into seed. So we know that the ovary, after fertilization, the ovary after fertilization, it develops into fruit. Similarly, the ovules after fertilization will develop into seed. The ovules within the ovary after fertilization will develop into seed. Now, what are the parts of a seed? What are the parts of a seed? A seed is made up of a seed coat and an embryo. A seed is made up of what? It is made up of a seed coat and an embryo. It is made up of seed coat and an embryo. Now, quickly if we see the picture of anatropous ovule. This is the embryo sac, right? This is the egg and these are synergids. These are antipodals and these are two polar nuclei. This is the inner integument of the ovule, outer integument of the ovule. So we are telling this, what is this? This is ovule. The ovule only will turn into seed, we are telling. The ovule only will turn into seed. Then these are the ovule integuments, right? So what are they? Inner and outer integuments. They are inner and outer integuments. Now when it becomes a seed, then it develops into seed coat. If we have to see a seed, chick seed, right? So this is a chick seed, a chickpea. Now this is a seed. The outer and inner integument developed into seed coats. Seed coat, it has two layers. The outer integument develops into testa and the inner integument develops into tegmen. This is the testa. Inner to this, one more seed coat will be there. That seed coat is called tegmen, right? Now, what is this region called? This region is called micropyle, the place where integuments are absent. Here in the seed also we can see this is micropyle. And this is the body of the ovule. This is the stalk. The stalk is called funicle. The stalk of the ovule is called funicle. This is the body. The stalk fuses with the body at a junction which is called hilum. At a junction which is called hilum. Now in the seed also hilum is there. So where is that? This is a scar. What is it called? Hilum. Now above the hilum will be a pore, small pore called micropyle. Here if you are seeing, you can see the pore below it, but actually if you reverse it, we will tell like above the hilum there is a small pore called, what is that small pore called? Micropyle, through which the seed will be doing respiration, through which it absorbs water and all those things. So it is this ovule only after fertilization. This ovule only after fertilization develops into a seed. The outer wall, inner wall develop into seed coats called testa and tegmen. Then this region micropyle, here the same region micropyle. The hilum here remains as a scar. Now above the scar, the micropyle region will be there, right? And inside it has an embryo axis. Now here is a female gamete. What is this? This is the egg. This male gamete comes and fuses with the egg and it develops into zygote. Zygote develops into embryo. That means inside the seed there is an embryo. So inside the seed there will be an embryo. When you open it, we can see the portion of the embryo. So in dicot seed the embryo will be developed different, and in monocot seed also the embryo will be different. Now when we take up the dicot seed, when we see the structure of dicot seed, then we can understand where is the embryo. Now we'll switch on to structure of dicot embryo. Understood, children, what is seed? Seed is the end product of sexual reproduction. From where is the seed formed? It is formed from the ovule. Ovule after fertilization develops into seed. Now let us see the structure of dicot seed. 5.7.1 is our topic, structure of dicot seed. Structure of dicot seed. Now when we have to see dicot seed, now just now we have taken a chickpea and we saw the chickpea. Now in the chickpea we saw micropyle, hilum, right? And we told this is the seed coat. And this represents a scar to which the placenta was attached, placentation. And this spore is called micropyle. This is chickpea. It is a dicot seed. Now, a dicot seed has how many cotyledons? It has 2 cotyledons, that's why it's called dicot. So, let us draw the 2 cotyledons. This is one cotyledon and this is the other cotyledon. In between the 2 cotyledons, it has the embryo, embryonic axis. Now, if we have to show the embryonic axis, so this is a embryonic axis. Now, this portion of the embryonic axis which is attached to the cotyledons is this region, is called as tigellum, and this is a cotyledon. In dicot, both the cotyledons are functional. In monocot, only one cotyledon will be functional. Now, this is the embryonic axis, the portion of the embryonic axis which is below the cotyledon. This region is called as hypocotyl. Now, hypocotyl, why it is hypocotyl? It's below the cotyledons. This hypocotyl will make the radicle. Which portion of the embryo it is making? Radicle. Now, the radicle will further develop into root system. Understood? Now, the portion of the embryonic axis which is above the cotyledon means this much portion. Because it is above the cotyledon, it is called epicotyl. Then what is it called? It is called epicotyl. Now, epicotyl will develop into the plumule, which is the embryonic axis. And the plumule will make the shoot system. The plumule will make the shoot system. Now, when you open a dicot seed and see, it is having 2 cotyledons on either sides and it has an embryonic axis at the center. The portion of the embryonic axis which is attached to the cotyledons, this region is called tigellum. The portion of embryonic axis below the cotyledons is called hypocotyl. Hypocotyl develops into radicle. Radicle will make the root system. The portion of the embryonic axis which is above the cotyledon is called epicotyl. Epicotyl will develop into plumule and plumule will make the shoot system, right? So now these are the parts of the dicot seed. Now dicot seeds are, we tell they are non-endospermic. Dicot seeds are non-endospermic. So dicot seeds, they develop after fertilization. They develop after fertilization. After fertilization, we know that ovary will turn into fruit, ovule will turn into seed. Then next one, the large central cell will turn into endosperm. It is called double fertilization, right? It is called endosperm. Now they are non-endospermic, means the dicot seeds during the development of the embryo, when the dicot seed is developing into embryo, will completely consume the entire endosperm, They will completely consume the endosperm. Since they are completely consuming the endosperm, dicot seeds are non-endospermic. So there's another name for non-endospermic. They're called exalbuminous seeds. Dicot seeds are called non-endospermic seeds, they are exalbuminous seeds. Why the endosperm is not there? Because the embryo has completely consumed all the endosperm, so that is why they are called non-endospermic or exalbuminous. So most of the dicots are non-endospermic, but there's an exception. Take castor. Now we know that castor is a dicot seed, but it is an exception. Even though it's a dicot seed, it has endosperm. Castor, which is an exception, is, what is it? It is endospermic. It is endospermic. So this is about the dicot seed. In dicot seed, what did we discuss? We discussed that the dicot seed develops from the ovary and the ovule. So it has a seed coat. The outer seed coat is called testa. The inner seed coat is called tegmen. And it has a micropyle, which represents the place of the ovule micropyle. The hilum is a place where it was attached to the ovary, that's placentation. And where is the hilum? We told hilum is above the micropyle, we told. Above the hilum, there's a small pore called micropyle. And when we open a dicot seed, we are seeing both the cotyledons, we are seeing epicotyl, we are seeing hypocotyl, we are seeing the shoot system and the root system. The dicot seeds, during their development, they'll completely consume their endosperm and they are non-endospermic. Whereas castor, even though it's a dicot seed, it is endospermic, means it retains little bit of endosperm during its development. So this is about dicot seeds. And if you have to see the examples of dicot seeds, what examples we can go? Pea we can go, bean we can go. All these are examples of dicot seeds only, isn't it? Now we'll switch on to the structure of monocot seed also. So the structure of monocot seed. For monocot seed, we can take the example of rice or wheat or maize as an example. So our next topic is 7.5.2. It is the structure of monocot seed. Structure of monocot seed. Now when we have to see the structure of monocot seed, we can take the example of maize, I told, we can take the example of rice also, I told. Now if we see the example of a maize seed, now maize seed, if you see the example, the maize seed will be like this, right? It will be like this. Now what is this bulky area called? This bulky area in the maize seed is called endosperm. In dicot, we did not mention about endosperm, but in monocots, we are mentioning about endosperm. Means monocot seeds are endospermic. And where is the embryo? So, this is an embryo. The embryo is at one corner. The embryo is at one corner and this is endosperm. And the endosperm is covered. Starchy endosperm. This is starchy endosperm. The endosperm is covered by a layer which is called aileron layer. This aileron layer is a protein-rich layer. It is a protein-rich layer. Now, this is one example for structure of monocot seed. So, that means we can write one point that monocot seeds are endospermic. Monocot seeds are endospermic. So, for endospermic, we can write another word, they are albuminous. They are albuminous seeds. Now, all the monocots are endospermic except orchids. So, what is the exception? Exception means it is a monocot, but it is not having endosperm. It is orchid. Now, orchids are costly. They are ornamental plants. Now, these seeds, we are telling, even though it's a monocot seed, it is not having endosperm. If it is not having endosperm, then the seed's viability will be very less. So, within that viability, it has to germinate. It has to germinate. If not, the seed will not germinate. So, that's why if you think you are having a orchid plant and it has given the seeds, you are storing the seeds, and if you are trying to plant it, you may not get the plant, because monocot seeds, these orchid seeds are non-endospermic. Orchid seeds are non-endospermic. What is endosperm? Endosperm is a nutritive tissue. Now, when the orchids are not having nutritive tissue, so their viability, their lifespan will be very short. So, their viability is very short. Within very short span, they die. Then, how can you cultivate such orchid plants? So, we have a tissue culture technique, we have embryo rescue technique. There we will try to cultivate by providing extra nutrients. So, we will go with tissue culture plants, artificial cultivation. So, we will go with tissue culture, we will provide artificial nutrients, and the embryo which has died, we will do embryo rescue technique. We will do embryo rescue technique. So, that is why these ornamental plants are costly. Why? Because they are not propagated by normal means. The normal seeds are not having viability. They don't have the nutritive tissue. So, then how are you doing it? By tissue culture, artificial hybridization methods. We are doing rescue of the embryo and then we are making the plant. So, that is why these are costly plants. Now, we have seen the maize seeds. Maize seeds are endospermic. That means the monocot seeds during their embryonic development, they will not completely consume the endosperm. They retain endosperm. They retain the nutritive tissue. How much nutritive tissue do they retain? Small or more? Bulky endosperm. So, monocot seeds have how much endosperm? They have bulky endosperm. Too much of endosperm it has. Now, when we have to see the structure of a rice grain, we look into the structure of rice grain also. Now, this is rice grain. So, rice grain means oryza. Wheat grain also will be like this only. It has a small scar here and it has a micropyle here. We are telling it is having bulky endosperm. Now, this much region is its endosperm only. This much region, it is endosperm, starchy endosperm. And I told the endosperm is surrounded by a protein-rich layer which is called aileron layer. So, this layer is the aileron layer. And rice comes under which type of dry fruit? It comes under caryopsis, means the fruit wall and the seed wall are fused. They're thick. So, that's why we give it to the mill with the blades, they remove it, okay, which is called as husk. So, what is this called? This is called aileron layer. What layer is this? It is a protein layer. Now, what is the inside content? It is endosperm. What nutrition it is storing? Starchy endosperm. Then where is the embryo in the monocot? In monocot, the embryo is at the corner. Here is an embryo. Now, dicot seeds will have two cotyledons, whereas monocot seed has only one cotyledon. The single cotyledon of monocot, it is shield shape and it is here. What is this? This is the single functional cotyledon. This is a single functional cotyledon of monocot. What is it called as? It's called scutellum. The single functional cotyledon of monocot is called as scutellum. It is called as scutellum. The second cotyledon will be degenerated. It will remain little. What is that called? It's called epiblast. So, in some seeds, we see the second degenerated cotyledon here. What is this called? This is called epiblast. What does epiblast represent? It represents the second functional or degenerated. It is having only one functional cotyledon. The second cotyledon is degenerated. So, this is the second degenerated cotyledon. What is it called as? It is epiblast. It is a vestigial structure. Only one cotyledon will be there, and that cotyledon is the functional cotyledon. Which shape it is? It is shield shape. It is shield shaped structure. Now where is the embryo, children? The embryo here is at the corner, right? So here is the embryonic axis. So this is a pumule and this is a radicle. So here is the pumule and this one is radicle. The pumule, the shoot axis, is covered by a covering. What is that called? Coleoptile. The pumule is covered by the covering. What is this covering called? Coleoptile. Parallelly, the root has a root cap. This is the root cap, and the root cap is also covered by a membranous covering. What is that called? Coleorhiza. In monocots, the pumule and radicle are covered by coleoptile and coleorhiza. The root radicle is covered by coleorhiza, the shoot is covered by pumule. So this is the embryo which is at one corner, which is small, and above that a shield shaped or a hood shaped cotyledon will be there, which is called scrutellum, which is one functional cotyledon. Now above that it is having bulky endospermous tissue. So that means monocots are endospermic. That's what we wrote. Monocots are endospermic. They have bulk of the endosperm. Since they are having endosperm, they are also called albuminous seeds. So exception for a monocot without endosperm is orchid. They are non-endospermic. Nutritive tissue is not there. So they cannot be normally cultivated. Then how do you cultivate orchid plants? By tissue culture, by embryo rescue technique. So this is about the description of the monocot seed. Monocot seeds, you have such type of seeds also, you have such type of seeds also. Understood? So this is the embryo here. Now that means here is pumule we can tell, here is radicle we can tell. This is covered by coleoptile, this is covered by coleorhiza, and this is a bulky endosperm. Actually, when the ovule is developing into seed, the nucellus, the nutritive tissue which is inside the ovule will be consumed up. But in some seeds, the nucellus will retain. So what are they called? They are called, when we draw an ovule, these are the integuments. Inside this is the embryo. So this is the egg and this is the endosperm, right? So what is this? This is nucellus. So this is nucellus. Now the nucellus, which is a nutritive tissue, which will be completed, it will be consumed. It will be consumed by the developing embryo sac. The embryo sac will consume it. Now, if at all, if the nucellus is there, then what is that called? Perisperm. Then the seeds are called perispermic seeds. Example for perispermic seeds, we can take the example of beetroot. Right? So beetroot, it has a perispermic seed, means it is having nucellus. Actually, nucellus will be consumed by the developing embryo sac. If the nucellus is not consumed and if it is there, so the remnants of the nucellus, nucellus, if it is still there inside the embryo, what is it called? It is called perisperm. Then the seeds are called perispermic seeds. The example for perispermic seed is beetroot. Okay. So we completed monocot seed and dicot seed. We have seen the structure of monocot seed embryo and the dicot seed embryo also. In the next class, we will discuss about the families and the semi-technical description about the floral families. Okay. So if you like the information, like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.